Welcome everyone to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I am a recovering addict, the father of two boys, husband to a beautiful wife, author to ebook Q&A between two addicts, and business owner to consulting business upgrade version U.0. And today I wanted to talk to you guys all about the help. And the help that I'm talking about is referring to those who are in the struggle, those who struggle with alcohol and drug consumption and abuse, um, any kind of addictions, actually. I just want to talk today. This episode is going to be all about the help that you need. And I guess the first thing I want to say is that I didn't get to sobriety all by myself. I needed help. And I actually got a lot of help. And there was a period in time of my life where I thought, hey, I don't need help. I can do this all on my own. And I tried a few times to do things the way that I thought I could do it. I told myself that I was strong enough, that I had the will. I I backed myself on my personal strength, and so I really thought that I could do things on my own. But did I only knew what I knew at the time. And one thing that I didn't know is that in order for you to be able to get through to a full recovery, you need to have some sort of accountability, whether that accountability comes from you or whether it comes from somewhere else or from someone else. And I didn't understand that. But looking back on it now, I can see that I was never going to be accountable to myself. I just wasn't going to do it. I couldn't hold myself accountable, and I it took me some time to realize that I needed someone and something else to be able to do that for me. And so I guess the one thing that I also want to say is that if you are going through a struggle, if you struggle with alcohol abuse, if you struggle with drugs, if you struggle with sex or with food or whatever vice it is you might be struggling with, is that you can't do it by yourself. You need help. I want to tell you a story about when I realized that I needed the help. And it goes back to when I was at my rock bottom. What my rock bottom looked like was despair, despondency, addictions to vices, using my vices to escape my reality, not wanting to be alone in my reality. So, doing everything that I possibly could to escape it, and in so doing, ruining my life on every level, including personal, professional. Personally, I was by myself. I didn't have any meaningful relationships in my life at that time. Professionally, I wasn't doing well in my job. I was about to get let go. Financially, I was on the brink of being kicked out of my house, losing my car, not being able to pay for food, not being able to pay for rent. So that's sort of a snapshot of what my rock bottom looked like. And it was only it wasn't until I got to a point where I was I didn't think life could get any worse that I realized that I needed help. And so I want to give you guys a little glimpse of, or I've actually put together a little list of all the things or all the people and all the things that I've been able to use as help throughout my journey. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, the Addiction Recovery Program. I joined a program for porn, which is called The Path Back. So shout out to Tony Overbay and The Path Back. I used my bishops in my church. I had the communities of all of these different groups as support as well. And last but definitely not least, I went to God for help. And so I guess that's just a short list of all the things that I've been able to use throughout my recovery to be able to help me. And so there's a whole range of different programs that I used, groups, meetings that I went to. And so I want to talk a little bit about those different types of groups that I went to, and I guess give you an idea of the good things that came from it, and maybe some of the things that weren't so good, and I'll also give you my own advice on what I think is actually great and amazing in this day and age for those of you who might be looking for that help. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the addiction recovery program. So there are so many different addictions, and so there are so many different addiction recovery programs. I mean, you got everything from Alcoholics Anonymous to Gambling's Anonymous, and so um, and I've been able to attend a few of these over the years, and been able to get some value out of them. And so one of the things that I think are good about the addiction recovery program is that it does have a structure. And I think that everything, if you're going to get some sort of help, it has to have some form of structure. It has to have a methodology. That's got to have steps on how to get from here to how to get to there. So you can't just really take stabs in the dark on what you think is going to work and not what you think is not going to work. And a lot of these are going to be proven methods, and especially in something like Alcoholics Anonymous, where it has a 12-step program, which has been around for many, many, many years and has been proven to work. And I guess I want to also say this quickly is that you're only going to get out of these programs what you get out of it. So if you go to these meetings and you think, oh, I'm only coming because I have to be here. I mean, I had to go to these meetings because I was compelled to do it. And so when I was compelled to go to these meetings, I didn't really get too much out of them. But you're only going to get out of the programs what you want to get out and what you will put into it, and the attitude that you're going to have towards it. So if you think a program isn't going to work, it's not going to work for you. If you think it is going to work for you, most likely it's going to work for you. But that really comes down to and boils down to your own belief system, and that will come as well from your attitude on how your outlook on how things are going to go. If you've got a positive attitude that, hey, you're going to make the most of this situation or this program, then you're going to get the most out of it. But if you go into it being pessimistic and negative, then chances are you're not going to get anything out of it. And you might say to yourself before you start a program, this isn't going to work for me. And then it doesn't work for you. Then you come out of it going, see, I told you it it didn't work for me. Well, really, at the end of the day, that boiled down to the type of attitude that you had towards it. And so I guess I just wanted to say that because, at the end of the day, it really does come down to your your own belief system. If you think it won't, or if you think it will, you're right. Either way. Back to what I was saying about the 12-step program, that is a structure that people can follow step by step to be able to get from one point to another, from one stage to another in their recovery. And those are also proven methods. The other thing I like about these addiction recovery programs is that they do have a level of accountability that they provide for their group members in the form of what they call a sponsor or sponsorship. And that's really just somebody that you can contact when you're feeling the pinch, or when you need to talk to somebody. In my own personal experience, I didn't really get much value out of that. I just feel like a lot of people. You, I guess for me, there were moments where I thought I need the help right now, but I wasn't able to get the help right then and there. I needed to speak to somebody right then, but it wasn't able to access anyone at that particular moment. And so I guess it was kind of hit and miss, and so it wasn't as effective as I thought that it could have been. But it was good to have that, to be able to have an option where you do get a chance to talk to somebody that is on another level, that's on a higher level of sobriety than you might be on, that can step you through the parts that you had already been stepped through. And I think that that's ultimately a good thing. You also have a facilitator, which is somebody that is teaching the steps on a week by week basis. So you attend a meeting, and then you might be on step number 8, and then in step number 8 you learn how to do X, Y, and Z, and then they go through that step with you, and everybody goes through that step. And you just continue to go through these steps, 1 to 12, 1 to 12, 1 to 12, until it kind of gets embedded into you. You understand what's required of you, and if you do the work that's required, then you're going to get the most out of it. And that's important to understand. If you go to these meetings and you're not doing the work that's required, then you're actually not going to get the most out of it. But you do have facilitators that are going to be able to step you through it, walk you through the each of the steps, and what each of the the tasks are, what everything means, and what the requirements are, or what the expectations are. And that's very, very helpful, especially if you're somebody who doesn't really understand, who needs help understanding things better. That's why you have facilitators. And the other thing I like about the addiction recovery programs is that you do have a community. So you're going to attend these meetings where you have other people who are struggling with the same things that you are. And initially, it's a little bit, you're a little bit reserved. There's a tinge of shame and embarrassment that might come with it as well, because it's like, oh, well, I'm coming to this meeting because I have this problem, and you've been trying to hide this problem, and then all of a sudden, just attending this meeting is basically you're saying to everybody else, I have that same problem. And so sometimes that's hard for people to be able to do, and I think that stops a lot of people from being able to attend these sort of groups or these meetings, or get any help whatsoever, because there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of stigma around their addiction. And I think porn and sex is probably some of the bigger ones that carry great shame and great guilt, because and I guess I'll put it this way, like it's you can sit around the table and tell somebody you might have a problem with drinking alcohol, but you're doing better at it now, and people might be, your family members or whatever, they'll be sympathetic. But then, trying to get around the family and say to them, "Hey, I've got an addiction to porn," is it received the same way as as somebody that is going through struggling with the drug addiction or a an alcohol addiction? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. And I think that there's a lot of shame around and stigma around porn itself and sex addiction. But I'm not saying that there isn't any on drugs and alcohol, because there's still a lot of shame and guilt there as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is that side to it when people are trying to consider whether they should go to these meetings or not. There is a little bit of shame and embarrassment that they experience, and it might intensify a little bit before when people are trying to make commitments or looking at making commitments to attending these meetings. And some of the things that they struggle with, or they're anxious about. And I only understand that because these are emotions and feelings that I've had myself, um, attending these different group meetings. But once you get into the group and you settle in, and you come to this realization that everyone is actually in the same boat that you are. Everyone is experiencing the same thing or felt the same way when you walked into that room. And it's hard enough to do that, but when you're in a group of people that are doing that, there's community, there's connection there, there's likeness, there's validation. And those are all important things that you get from going to and attending these group meetings. And is an important, and I would argue to say that that is one of the most important components to recovery, would be the connection and the community that that you create and that you make. What it means is that you're not going through this by yourself, and there are other people like you, and there's strength in numbers. And when you have a group of people together that are struggling with something but are trying to become better people, or to get better at at something, there's just an overall sense of positivity and hope. And 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 those are they're so crucial to your recovery. You need to be able to feel hope. You need to feel positive. You need to feel like you're doing the right thing, and you don't want to feel alone. And that's one of the key things about these communities, is that you're doing this collectively together, that you don't feel like you're going through something like this by yourself. And I think that that's why people look forward to going to these meetings. It's sometimes the highlight of their week, because they're going to finally be able to be together with other people that are like them. They might go the whole week just waiting and hanging on attending this meeting, so that they can catch up with their sponsors, and with their friendships, and there's these bonds that they have created, these connections that they've made, this community that they've created. And those are so important to recovery. The other thing I wanted to talk about the, is the other way you can get help. And I think this is the most effective and the most quickest and the easiest way for you to get help, is through private online programs and communities. These communities, these private online programs and communities, they're amazing. This is like next level. And I would say there's a few great things and unique things about these online programs and communities that separates them from what you get out of an addiction recovery program. And I'll just go through a couple of them. But one of the biggest things is that you get individual support. So you get one-on-one attention, where you're going to be speaking specifically with one person who's going to support you throughout your entire journey. And so the option to be able to be handheld through your struggles, through your darkest period, all the way through to the best version of you, that's very attractive and appealing to people in this day and age. It's quicker, it's easier. It's got programs that are also can be tailored or customized for you personally. And so that's another huge benefit, is that it's not a blanket program where one size fits all. It's a let's find out what your needs are, and then let's tailor something that is specifically just for you, and then be able to go through a one-on-one individual attention throughout the whole program. There's also a level of privacy that comes through that. When you're online and you're searching, you can do this just from literally from your phone. You can attend these meetings whenever you want. It's on demand. So a lot of these programs that they have are automated. So you don't have to wait for the next meeting to be able to attend it. It's like on demand. It's like you'll be able to go through this program whenever you feel like it, or so you can go through it as quickly or as slowly as you want to. But just like everything else, it's all going to be dependent on the work that you're going to be putting into it. But I think that those are it's it's amazing because they're quick, they're private, they're easy, they're customized, and those are all unique differences and advantages that they would have over going waiting for one meeting that you have to attend every week and having to drive from here to there. It's just the convenience of it. It's just the ease of it that makes it much more attractive and much quicker. And for those of us who are poor in time, these when you can tailor something that's going to be able to suit your time frames and your lifestyle, it can't really get any better than that. And so I guess at this time I want to also take it this time to plug my own business online upgrade version U.0, which is a play on words. Instead of upgrade version 2.0, it's upgrade version U.0. And my own program that I have is what I call the U.0 life blueprint. And I call it a life blueprint because it's holistic in nature. It just doesn't We're not just talking about getting from sobriety from 1 month to 2 months, or let's see if we can get you to 6 months sobriety. It's a life changing, a life altering program or blueprint where we cover every aspect of your life. So that's your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. And that's the program that I have, which I would be doing one on one with my clients, and then I tailor my program to each individual clients the way that they need it. And so, but there are many different programs, and you can find them anywhere now. One of the unique things about my particular program is because it is faith based, and I guess that is another thing that I wanted to talk to you. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is how you can get help from church. And so I guess I would speak into those who are more religiously inclined. Um, a church is a great place to get help. When I went to church, I got my accountability through my bishops. So I met with my bishops on a regular basis to be able to discuss my progress. There was structure there because the church I belong to, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it has its own addiction recovery program. And so they had a structure there. My accountability was through my bishop. But on top of that, you also learn and they teach you about other gospel principles such as prayer and fasting and serving others. And just these three principles here, prayer, fasting, and serving others, has learning them firstly and then being able to implement them into my life has been a real game changer for me and has been instrumental in my recovery efforts. Because being able to do those things, I was able to connect and to reconnect myself with God and to be able to strengthen my faith and to develop my personal relationship with God. I guess at the end of the day, when you're going to church, you can go to God Himself, and that's how you connect with Him, through prayer, through fasting, through serving others. Just those three simple things that I did on a regular basis is what helped me to gain access to divine power, to be able to get myself strengthened, spiritually fit, and my faith strengthened, and that really helped to strengthen me throughout my entire journey, and also is still impacting my life today, blessing my life today. And so I guess church is a really big part of my life. I go to church weekly, also attending church on a regular basis, where you can receive the word of God through your teachers and the people that are teaching you, your bishops and your church leaders, and your gospel studies. Having that on a weekly basis recharges my spiritual batteries and helps me to get through the next week. But the other thing that church has is community, and that has been hugely important to my recovery, because when I went away from my other life, I was able to begin again and reestablish relationships through my church. And these are also still relationships that I have to this day. And these relationships are grounded in the same values that I have. And these values are good values that I also want to instill into my children, that I strive hard to be able to do that, because I know that this is going to help them throughout the rest of their lives. So uh, because church is a huge part of my life, it's also a huge part of my program. And that's a unique part of my program, is that it is faith based, and I do teach people how to access God's power through things like service, through prayer, through fasting, through attending church, through developing your relationship with God and strengthening your faith. These are things that I've been able to utilize, not just through my recovery but throughout my life. That has blessed my life in ways that I can't even. First of all, that I'm fully grateful for, but I can't describe how much I have been blessed as a result of going back to church. And so, at the end of the day, I think if you're struggling, I want you to know that there is help, and that it is easy to find, and that you don't have to go through this journey alone and feeling by yourself, and like nobody is going to be able to understand you. And yes, each of us have our own unique journeys, and we don't. Not everyone is exactly the same as the next person, and that's understandable. But you will have you there are people out there that you will still be able to connect with, even though our stories don't exactly align. They don't need to exactly align for us to make connections. But there is help, and you don't have to do this by yourself. And also, you can't do this by yourself. You need to take that leap of faith. You need to come out of the dark and into the light, and get the help that you need. It's easy to find. You can find it just as the easiest way to find it is on social media. That's the only that's the one place that you can find online programs and communities to start your recovery journey today. If you want to join mine, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it. You can also you can also go onto Google, because if you do like having that person relationship where you're with other people, then you can do that. You can go onto Google and search up your local addiction recovery programs, and they'll tell you what the dates and the times are, and then all you've got to do is just attend. You know, these programs are free for you to attend. for the public to be able to attend. My advice to you would be just to go and experience what it's like to see that to see that you're not alone in this, that there are other people that are just like you, that are going through the same things, and that you'll be able to connect with, and that will be able to help you to start your journey, and not just to start your journey, but to support you through your journey. And I can tell you now that once you take that leap of faith, and you start getting the help that you need, and if you stay the course, and you do the work, you're going to get the results that you want, and your life is going to be so much better. It's gonna I can't explain to you how much better your life is going to be. But if you're at rock bottom now, then there can't be anything worse than where you're at currently at the moment. So take the shot, take a leap of faith, get the help that you need, and you won't regret it.
1,